You're listening to GWP Live Severe Weather Coverage. It's Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, and this is your 9:50 p.m. update as we are still dealing with ongoing severe storms across the region. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning with a considerable threat tag in southwest Missouri, and we also have a new tornado warning around the St. Louis metro area. And so that's what we're going to start you off with here is a newly developed tornado warning in the St. Louis area. So we're going to go ahead and take kind of a closer look at this. So here's where the warning is, and oh wow, that is definitely a decent what I would call, I guess you could say, hook to this particular storm right here. It definitely showed signs of weakening very recently, but then now we've seen that strengthening begin to take place. And so there's the tornado warning that has just been issued. This has just been issued for St. Louis County and St. Louis City. So St. Louis County, Missouri is now under a tornado warning until 10:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. At 9:40 p.m. Central Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over town and country, moving east at 25 miles per hour. This is a radar indicated rotation. This includes Interstate 44 in Missouri near exit 277. So you're going to want to move into the lowest level, the most interior room of the lowest level as quickly as possible if you're under this tornado warning across St. Louis County. This includes many of the suburbs in St. Louis, including Baldwin, Chesterfield, Manchester, Kirkwood, Crestwood, Webster Groves, Maryland Heights, Bridgeton, Overland, St. Anne, University City, St. Louis, Jennings, Ferguson, Florissant, and all of the surrounding areas in between that we didn't mention there. So again, this is a brand new tornado warning that has been issued for St. Louis County until 10:30 p.m. for the possibility of a tornado moving into downtown St. Louis. And when we look at the radar signature, or the velocity signature, we do notice that there is an area of rotation around Crev Courier, just to the west of Richmond Heights, around the town country area. So this is that area of circulation. Here's Interstate 64, so it's right over the Interstate 64 area where we are seeing a signature here on the velocities. So again, an area of rotation has been detected just to the east of Chesterfield along Interstate 64 in the western suburbs of St. Louis. Downtown St. Louis on the Missouri side is currently under this tornado warning that remains in effect until 10:30 this evening. We also do have another line of strong storms that is right behind that storm to the west of St. Louis. So we're also tracking this cluster, and then we've also got another cluster of thunderstorms as well to the south side of St. Louis as well that is moving in. This is the area that previously was warned for strong straight line winds. That is no longer warned for straight line winds, but we are still tracking that across the area. So we do have that tornado warning across the St. Louis area. So now we have a newly issued severe thunderstorm warning further towards the east. This is for, let's get some more information on this latest severe thunderstorm warning. This is an extension off of the one that we showed you in the last live stream for Barton and Jasper County. Let's see where we're at with this one here. Barton, Lawrence, Jasper, and Dade counties. You're under a severe thunderstorm warning until 10:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time. At 9:36 p.m. Central Daylight Time, severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from 8 miles east of Lamar to near Golden City to 9 miles north of Circoxie, moving east at 55 miles per hour. Hazards include 70-mile-per-hour winds and penny-sized hail. This is a radar indicated threat. Again, we are talking about considerable tree damage and then damage to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings is going to be possible. Locations under this warning, and again, I know these are some of the same areas that have already been impacted by severe winds tonight, but we're dealing with Stockton Lake, Greenfield, Lockwood, Golden City, Miller, Dadeville, South Greenville, as well as into Maple Grove and Cedarville. You are under this warning until 10:15 for the possibility of 70-mile-per-hour winds. This includes Interstate 44 mile markers 57 and 58. So again, there is a considerable threat tag with this severe thunderstorm warning, with the hazards being 70-mile-per-hour winds. This is also, we've got thunderstorms across an area that has already seen lots of rainfall so far this evening, and so that has only increased the concern for flooding across this region. All right, we just got a brand new update on that severe thunderstorm warning. Barton and Jasper County, you are no longer under the severe thunderstorm warning. So if you are in Barton or Lawrence County, this warning is no longer for you. It is just for Lawrence and Dade counties, but that still remains until 10:15. Also, the wind threat has gone down a little bit. We went down from 70 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour, but 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail will still be possible. Again, this is radar indicated. At 9:47 p.m., severe thunderstorms were located along the line extending from 8 miles northwest of Greenfield to near Lockwood and 8 miles west of Miller, moving east at 55 miles per hour. So here's the new area. So again, we are no longer looking at this warning. We did have eastern Barton and Jasper. Now this is just for Dade and Lawrence, and that goes from Lockwood to Greenfield, where we're going to be dealing with some of these stronger winds, and again, some small hail is going to be possible, but the hail is not really the main concern. The big concern is going to be the straight line damaging winds that we could be looking at along this line here. And so there's where those winds are at. We'll go ahead and we'll draw it on this map here. There it is, just around the Dadeville area, just to the east of just to the east of Greenfield along US 160. That's where we're going to be dealing with some of the stronger winds out of this particular storm here, upwards of 60 miles per hour at times for Dade and Lawrence counties over the next few minutes here. Next 20 minutes is how long that warning goes for across the area. Now let's go ahead and we'll get an update on the St. Louis tornado warning. So, this very well could be rain wrapped. So we're looking at possibly a very dangerous tornado moving into downtown St. Louis. Okay, we just had an update at 9:52. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located around Lude, moving east at 25 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and find the particular location. It's fine. Okay. Yeah, so this is that area. There's where we have the hook echo as of right now. So again, this is moving east pretty slowly at 25 miles per hour. This is the main area of concern where we're dealing with a little bit of that rotation. Let's go ahead and pull up the velocities here. And so a little bit of rotation is, so that's where it was. Now it's kind of moved here. So again, a little bit of rotation here on the velocities at this point in time around the Overland area, and that's going to continue to move further towards or I guess the east here. The trajectory is more towards the east. So the good news is the most populated area of St. Louis appears to be to the south of where we're actually going to have the tornado. But again, Ferguson and Overland, you are currently in the path of where we anticipate that tornado would be at, somewhere in this area, continuing to move towards the east here. And again, we do have reason to believe that this could be on the ground at this point in time. Back it up just a few scans when we had a little bit greater confidence here when this was first issued. So again, this is kind of that general rotation around the Overland area that we've been tracking. So yes, that area right there, we have the reds and the grays and greens meet up right there. That's where we're looking at a possible rotation, a rotating storm here just to the northwest of St. Louis. If you're in downtown St. Louis, especially on the northwest side of the metro, take shelter immediately. Go to the lowest floor and then go to the most interior room within that lowest floor of a sturdy structure. That's the important thing, is it needs to be a sturdy structure. Otherwise, if you're in a mobile home, that will not do. Large auditoriums, gymnasium, but just large open spaces in general. We recommend that you stay away from those because those can be more susceptible to tornadic damage. All right. And then just a quick update on our severe thunderstorm warning. Still 60-mile-per-hour winds and penny-sized hail is going to be the main threat. And again, that one continuing to move off towards the east at about 55 miles per hour. So it's moving a little bit quicker than our storm there in St. Louis. All right, we're going to go to another brief intermission. We will be back here just after the top of the hour. All right. And we are back here on GWP Live Severe Weather Coverage. It is Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. It is about 10 o'clock here, and we are still tracking some ongoing severe storms across the region. And in case you are wondering, no, we are not going to do this all night long, although it may seem that that is where we're trending, as the current thunderstorms that we're tracking across the region. These storms right here, they will be moving out to our east and eventually to our south as well. So storms will be out of here probably within the next hour or two, and then we'll go ahead and we will end the live stream once that does happen a little bit later on this evening. But yeah, so we are still dealing with that at this point in time. I also got an alert saying that there is a potential hailstorm moving in around the Joplin area. So it is possible that here, kind of where Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, where all three of those states meet, it is possible that we've got some small hail, but I don't think we're seeing any damage out of that hail that we're dealing with there. But definitely some heavy storms now moving through Joplin and into Carthage and Webb City. Yeah, definitely some pretty heavy rainfall across this region. And of course, course, the main flooding that we've seen has been in northern Jasper County and, north of Joplin. But I mean, it's still very well possible that we could be dealing with some heavy showers and thunderstorms across that region, and maybe even some flooding, as we have mentioned throughout this event as well. So let's go ahead and we're going to get an update on the different alerts that we have. We'll start with the tornado warned storm here that is now moving into St. Louis. So our latest update that we have on that warning. So tornado warning remains in effect for St. Louis County and St. Louis City until 10:30. At 9:52, a severe thunderstorm was capable. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Ladue, moving east at 25 miles per hour. Again, this is a radar indicated rotation, so we still do not have any confirmation of if this is on the ground or not. If we look here at the velocities, again, it gets a little bit messy because we are so close to the radar site, but again, we have a little area rotation around the Richmond Heights area just to the west of St. Louis. So if you are in this area, you definitely want to make sure that you have taken shelter. Either way, we definitely could be getting some very gusty winds here along the leading edge of that band of thunderstorms that is now moving into the St. Louis area. So again, tornado warning remains in effect until we said 10:30 for St. Louis County and for the St. Louis city itself. As again, we do have a little bit of rotation, particularly along Interstate 170, that continues to move further towards the east. But the good news is, at this point in time, it looks very unlikely that if we did have any rotation, it's very unlikely that it would be reaching the ground. And so that is good news there. But we'll still watch that tornado warning there across the St. Louis area. All right, we also just got some brand new information. A new severe thunderstorm warning has now been issued for Polk, Lawrence, Greene, and Dade counties in southwestern Missouri. That does include Springfield until 11 p.m. So this severe thunderstorm warning that we have been tracking has now been extended towards Springfield. At 10:01 p.m., severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from Greenfield to near Everton to Miller, moving east at 40 miles per hour. Hazards include 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and this is a radar indicated rotation. So this includes Interstate 44 between mile markers 56 and 68, as well as 70 and 90. So now severe thunderstorm warning has been extended into the Springfield area as those winds continue to remain strong on the leading edge of this eastern side of the storm here. And again, that does pose the threat of some 60-mile-per-hour winds there in the Springfield area. So still watching those storms very closely there. We also recently had a tornado warning that was issued just to the east of Fort Smith in Arkansas, west of the Russellville area, just to the south of Interstate 40. So we're tracking that for us. I guess we'll go ahead and we'll look a little bit closer into this warning here. This goes for Logan and Johnson counties in Arkansas until 10:30. This is a radar indicated threat. So again, the good news is with that one is just like our one that we're dealing with right now in St. Louis, there is no confirmation that it's actually on the ground. So that is the positive side of that. So let's see if severe thunderstorm warning. So there is a warning for Springfield, Missouri. It just hasn't popped up just yet. But again, Polk, Lawrence, Greene, Dade counties. Those are the ones that are under the warning until 11 p.m. 60-mile-per-hour winds. That is what the concern is going to be. This includes Morrisville, Willard, Pleasant Hope, Fairgrove, Stratford, Springfield, Brookline, as well as a few other places as well under that warning. So really just this entire area. So we've got Ash Grove, we've got Walnut Grove, Cave Spring, we've got Western Republic, getting into Republic, as well as into Battlefield. Those areas are under this new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued that goes for 60-mile-per-hour winds until 11 p.m. for this evening. All right, let's go ahead and see if we have any new updates on our St. Louis tornado warning. So again, this is the area that we're watching on that southern end of the warning, really close to the most populated spots there in St. Louis here. But again, when we compare it to, well, wait a second there. Okay, let me do something real quick here. think it might be in this area. Let's see. Are we getting rotation there? That is very well possibly the rotation right there. I would not be surprised if we had a funnel cloud over downtown St. Louis right now, particularly where that blue circle is that I just drew, because we have kind of a hook-like structure matching up with the velocities. So a little bit of a match there across that area. So we'll have to watch that very closely because, again, a little bit of rotation, particularly on the northern side of St. Louis with this particular tornado warning. And again, this tornado warning remains in effect until 10:30. We're not necessarily concerned about straight line winds or large hail. Those are no longer the main threats with this particular storm. The big concern now is the possibility of an embedded rotation within this line that's moving through St. Louis. So that is what our concern would be across the area. All right, let's see what else we have. A couple of additional showers and storms developing just west of Jefferson City, so that's a little bit interesting. Yes, we're still watching that closely. A couple of storms trying to fire up just to the south of Columbia, but at this point in time, again, that main severe weather threat there in Jefferson City is pretty much over. Our main concern right now, besides St. Louis, the St. Louis storm is kind of an exception, but besides that, this right here, that was a bad circle. Our main area of concern from this point forward is going to be here, from here. That's the main area in our viewing area that is still at risk for severe storms. So once the storms move out of that blue circle, then we should be good. And it should be just this line of storms. I do not anticipate additional development beyond what you are seeing here. I believe this will be the end of our severe thunderstorms once they get through this circle. And again, as of right now, these storms in Joplin are not severe. And then the storms in Lebanon are also not severe. It's just the general area that we're watching, that general complex that we've been tracking very closely here. So again, we now have that severe thunderstorm warning in Springfield that does remain for 60-mile-per-hour winds. That's going to be the big concern here across the St. Louis area. But that's the circle of concern, if you want to put it that way. Everybody else across the state of Missouri, besides St. Louis, is in the clear. So unless you're in St. Louis or the circle that we just showed you moments ago, then you are in the clear for severe thunderstorms in Missouri. Storms are now moving into Chicago, so the Chicago metro is now under a severe thunderstorm warning. We've also got some of the suburbs to the west under warnings. We'll have to see what happens once these storms make it out from Lake Michigan. So western Michigan, like Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo, could get involved in this line of storms. Has already left behind some very heavy rainfall and some flooding across that region. So we'll have to see if there's any updates on that in the there. And then a few storms, those are starting to quickly weaken across southern New York and northeastern Pennsylvania, but we are still watching those storms out there. And then the storms that we did have across central Iowa about an hour ago, those have also gone to non-severe, but we are still tracking a couple of stronger storms around Waterloo there in Iowa. And then one random storm developed in central Texas. So we're still watching a couple areas where the environment is a little bit unstable there. And then again, we also had a new tornado warning in Arkansas. We'll just kind of take a quick look at this here. This goes for Logan, Scott, and Yale counties in Arkansas, across central Arkansas at 10:05. Near Cardiff, moving east 45 miles per hour. You can see some of those different Arkansas areas that are under this warning. 10:45, we've got three different tornado warnings. So we're watching this cell right here, and then we're watching these areas in here. Let's go ahead and let's shift over to velocity. just to see what kind of action we've got in our neighbor to the south in Arkansas. I would say this is probably on the ground. That right there is probably on the ground along Highway 23. Yeah, that's very likely. At the very least, we probably have a funnel cloud with that particular storm. So definitely take shelter. If you know of anybody who's in this region, it'd be a good idea to let them know that they've got a very dangerous storm headed their way. So again, pretty tight couplet right there. And then there's a little area of rotation around Sugar Grove to the east of Boonville, this area right here, and then even another area of rotation in here. So we've got really one, two, three different areas of rotation along this line. I will say that any time that we're dealing with tornadoes along a line of severe thunderstorms, usually they're just going to be brief spin ups. And so, a brief EF0, EF1 spin up tornado is going to be possible, but those can still cause more damage. And probably the most dangerous part about those brief spin ups is they're very hard to predict exactly when they're going to happen because you don't exactly know when they're going to briefly spin up. So, that is kind of the more dangerous side of those storms. Also, there was a new severe thunderstorm watch that was issued across northwestern Arkansas until 2 a.m., particularly for that area that's dealing with that line of storms that we just showed you. So there's the new severe thunderstorm watch in pink. It does not include Little Rock, but it does include Russellville. So, and then Fort Smith, you are still under a tornado watch until midnight, and that also includes southeastern Oklahoma, although this will likely expire within the next 20 or 30 minutes. Also, that line of storms that we've been tracking along Interstate 44 around the Joplin area, we've actually seen some additional development across northeastern Arkansas or Oklahoma. So, northeastern Oklahoma, we're starting to see additional development with some thunderstorms. We still do have that tornado watch, particularly for southwest Missouri until midnight. So we're still watching that. And then even along Interstate 44 and then all the way up to St. Louis, we've got that tornado watch still in effect until midnight. So that is something to watch out for across this area. Let's go ahead and let's get an update on our. All right, I just got a new alert here. Before we go to that, we have an update on our flash flood warning in Joplin. Not yet, at least. There's some sort of update that is in the works, though. All right, let's go to the St. Louis tornado warning. Let's see where we're at on velocity. Okay. A little bit of rotation on the west side of St. Louis. So again, downtown St. Louis, be in your tornado safe place. It's possible that we have a tornado with this storm. We did just recently get an update. At 10:12 p.m., severe thunderstorms capable of producing a tornado were located along the line from over Spanish Lake to over McKenzie, or along the line from Spanish Lake to Shrewsbury, moving east at 35 miles per hour. This is still a radar indicated rotation. So if we get really specific here, on where we're looking at this, just trying to locate Spanish Lake here. Extremely familiar, as a lot of you may know, I'm not extremely familiar with the St. Louis area. It is outside of our viewing area also. But again, still, nonetheless, a little bit of an area of rotation moving into St. Louis. I don't think that this is on the ground, but this is one of those situations where it could quickly change. And so that is why it is worth being in your tornado safe place. Again, if I had to guess, just based on what we're looking at, it would likely be somewhere on the Maybe even, yeah, maybe even on the southwest side. Yeah, right in there, it looks like we've got a little bit of rotation on the velocity, and that meets up with the reflectivity on the radar. So again, take shelter immediately if you are in downtown St. Louis, because again, there's a possible tornado that could be moving in. Tornado warning remains in effect across this area until 10:30. All right. Let's go back down to the Springfield area where we do still have severe thunderstorm warning in effect. This one right here has expired. So that is some good news. The previous severe thunderstorm warning that was in effect along 160 across Lockwood. So Lockwood, your severe thunderstorm warning has expired. This one is gone, but that one that now is included for Morrisville, Pleasant Hope, Fairgrove, Stratford, Willard, and Springfield, that one continues until 11 p.m. And we're looking at the possibility of some 60-mile-per-hour winds with this. Again, we know this line has also already caused some flooding that has been going on across the Joplin area. So we've had some flooding. Things have gotten a little bit worse with the flooding situation as we have now picked up some areas anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of rainfall have already fallen across that area. I think we also got a new flash flood warning. If I'm not mistaken, I believe we have a new flash flood warning. So I'm going to see what I can find out about that. Yes, new flash flood warning that includes Joplin, Carthage, and a sliver of southeastern Kansas that was originally not under a flash flood warning. It also includes northern Newton County. So, new flash flood warning for this area. Let's see, and then it goes to kind of around, kind of in this area. That's rough. That's a rough drawing of a new flash flood warning that has just been issued. This goes for southeastern Cherokee County in Kansas, Jasper and Newton counties in Missouri. This is in effect until 4:15 a.m. At 10:15 p.m., Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rainfall across the warned area. 2 inches of rain have already fallen. 2 inches of rain are expected to fall in the next couple hours. Radar indicated threat. Locations that could be impacted by this include Joplin, Carthage, Baxter Springs, Webb City, Carl Junction, Galena, Oronoga, Carterville, Duquesne, Sarcoxie, Diamond, and then a whole bunch of other smaller cities that I'm not going to list off here. But again, that is the new area that is being affected by this flash flood warning that was just issued from the National Weather Service in Springfield. And there it is. So there's the area that is under the new flash flood warning. And again, this new one goes until 4:15 a.m. 4:15 a.m. new flash flood warning for the Joplin area. And that does include Carthage as well. And then it also goes south of Interstate 49. So some heavy rainfall has already been recorded across this region, and more heavy rainfall is anticipated. All right. Then we've still got our warning out for the Springfield area. Again, this is for Polk, Lawrence, Greene County, and Dade counties until 11 p.m. 60-mile-per-hour winds are going to be the main concern along the leading edge. Let's go ahead and go to velocities, although, yeah, that's what I thought might happen. A little bit too busy at the radar site, so let's go to Tulsa. Too far away at Tulsa. That Pleasant Hill gives us something, yeah, a little bit there. So, yeah, so we're all right, we're gonna go back to that. So again, pretty strong storm, maybe even some severe winds moving into the Springfield area. 60-mile-per-hour winds are going to be possible here with that warning. All right, let's go ahead and get the latest on our tornado warning. You'll notice it's been trimmed back a little bit. So now it just includes downtown St. Louis. Yes, let's go ahead and All right, so again, St. Louis still under that tornado warning until 10:30 p.m. They're in St. Louis County, so you'll want to make sure to go ahead and take shelter. As far as the velocities, we've been tracking that. A little bit of rotation, but it looks like it has now moved into the Illinois side of St. Louis. So on the Illinois side of St. Louis, looks like there is a little bit of rotation. But if you are in St. Louis, again, please stay in your storm shelter or a tornado safe place, whatever that might be, because again, we are looking at a little bit of rotation just to the east of St. Louis, kind of around the St. Louis area. We are also tracking a severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued on the south side of the St. Louis metro area. That goes for St. Clair County in Illinois, Jefferson County in Missouri, St. Louis County in Missouri, and St. Louis City in eastern Missouri, 60-mile-per-hour winds. And then they also put a tornado possible tag as there was a little bit of rotation right here just to the northeast of Festus, and then even a little bit of rotation to the south. So I'll point that out for you right here. So again, northeast of Festus, and then on the southern side of Festus, there's the Illinois-Missouri border. So again, this storm is moving out of our viewing area, but still, a couple of brief spin-ups are going to be possible, but right now, that tornado risk is very low with those particular storms right now. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to move out to a regional view. So again, flash flood warnings, a new flash flood warning that does now include the Joplin area, severe thunderstorm warning that includes Springfield, and then St. Louis is also still under that tornado warning until 10:30 with the tornado possible tag on the warning on the south side of the city until beyond that. All right, well, we'll now go ahead and we'll move into another brief intermission. We will return around 10:30. All, there we go. All right. And we are back here on GWP Live Severe Weather Coverage. It is Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. It is about 10:30 p.m., and we are still tracking some of the ongoing severe storms here across the state of Missouri. A lot of the severe action is beginning to tame down just a little bit across the viewing area, but we do still have a few areas that are at risk for severe storms, including large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. And then now, the really big threat that we're going to start to see take over is going to be that flood threat. And we've already seen that with the last few hours, some of the newest flash flood warnings being issued, with the most recent one being issued across the Joplin area. Just wanted to give you a quick update on the tornado watches and severe thunderstorm watches. So as of right now, Tornado watch remains in effect for the St. Louis Metro until midnight, and then we've got southern Missouri and southeastern Kansas. This watch continues until midnight. Really, this watch is going to continue until this complex of storms that we've been tracking falls apart, which will likely happen within the next hour or so. Then we've got a severe thunderstorm watch that was newly issued across northwestern Arkansas, and that goes until 4 a.m. And then this one here across eastern Oklahoma and Arkansas, that goes in effect until midnight. So again, not much longer until these watches will be expiring. The one in Arkansas a little bit later than some of the other ones, but still something that we are going to be looking at here. Northern Illinois is still under a severe thunderstorm watch until midnight as well. Kind of gets intertwined with the flood watches and everything. And then, even though we are dealing with a couple of severe storms this evening across the Northeast, still dealing with those, we don't have any watches at this point in time across the Northeast. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our storm that is now moving into the Willard area just to the north of Springfield. So again, severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for us across the Springfield area. This includes, we've got Polk and Greene County until 11 o'clock. The latest update was 10:25. Severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Pleasant Hope to near Willard to near Ash Grove, moving east at 50 miles per hour. Again, 60-mile-per-hour winds are going to be the main threat. Damage to roof sidings and trees are going to be possible. Locations impacted by this warning here in Springfield include Springfield, Stockton Lake, Willard, Stratford, Ash Grove, Fair Grove, Walnut Grove, Pleasant Hope, as well as a few others. So that area is still under a severe thunderstorm warning, and apparently, this is pop-up notification moment of the day. Springfield continues until 11 p.m. with some 60-mile-per-hour winds. So again, Polk and Greene counties still be ready because, again, we're still dealing with that severe thunderstorm warning along that area for us. Let's see. We don't have Storms are starting to get a little bit stronger here in northeastern Oklahoma around Miami, but the bulk of the action has moved through Joplin. So the worst of the storms are through Joplin, but now we're getting into Granby and Neosho. A few storms are rolling in, but again, none of these are severe. The ones here in Lebanon are non-severe as well, so that's good news. And then also as we go into Rolla. All right. Very brief update here. The tornado warning in St. Louis has expired. There is still a tornado possible tag for the area south of St. Louis, but St. Louis, you are now in the clear of that tornado threat. So, again, just to the south of St. Louis, still watching potential for tornadoes, but even that, okay, we just got information. That severe thunderstorm warning, let's go to this one. This severe thunderstorm warning has just expired. So, no, it has just been updated. Okay. It has now been updated to only include the Illinois counties. So this warning is officially out of the state of Missouri. But in western Illinois, it does still exist until 11 p.m. All right, and then we have a whole bunch of tornado warnings right now in northwestern Arkansas, or really into western Arkansas. Let's see, we've got one for Logan and Johnson counties until 11 p.m. That's radar indicated. Then we've got another one for Logan and Scott and Yale counties until 10:45. That's also radar indicated. Then we have an extension off of that warning for Logan, Scott, Yale, and Pope counties in Arkansas. That's the one right here. That's just to the west of Russellville. That goes in effect till 11. That's also, so all of these are radar indicated. None of these are confirmed, but we were looking at them a moment ago, and there was definitely a little bit of rotation when we looked at the velocity. There's also a larger severe thunderstorm warning just for the overall area. That goes for Logan, Johnson, Perry, Conway, Garland, Scott, Saline, Montgomery, and Pope counties till 11:15. 60-mile-per-hour winds, but there's also a tornado possible tag on that severe thunderstorm warning. And then again, when you line that up, we do still have that tornado watch to the west, but I believe that this will probably expire very soon. But we do still have that severe thunderstorm watch with those ongoing tornado warnings in the northwestern part of Arkansas there. So as of right now, across the country, now we're doing kind of more of a nationwide severe thunderstorm update. Here's the different areas that we're looking at. We've got here, we've got here, we've got here, and then we've got here, and then we've got here. Those are the 5 areas in which we're still, move that a little bit over. Those are the 5 areas in which we're still dealing with ongoing severe thunderstorms. And realistically, the majority of what I have circled will probably fizzle out within the next hour and a half. I really doubt that we have any, little to none. I really doubt we're going to have any severe weather after midnight. There might be a rogue severe thunderstorm warning here and there. But overall, after midnight, our threat should be over in all of these areas that I've got highlighted currently. Again, as of right now, the strongest area that I'm like most concerned about on this map is our western Arkansas, just because we've got 2 tornado warnings across that, or we got 3. Yeah, we got 3 tornado warnings out. So we've got 9 severe thunderstorm warnings nationwide, 3 tornado warnings, and then 9 flash flood warnings. So again, the flash flooding has really become the highlight of, I guess if you want to call it, the afternoon or the evening, now that it's starting to clear out just a little bit. All right, so let's see if we have any additional updates here, anything new that has popped up. So again, flash flood warning still continuing. I will say those storms in northeastern Arkansas have strengthened a little bit. This one right here to the west of Bartlesville, or excuse me, this one right here, that one to the west of Bartlesville, there is now the threat for penny or nickel size hail and 50-mile-per-hour winds. So those storms right here in northeastern Arkansas are gaining a little bit of strength. So the only spot that I could see gaining a watch that currently doesn't have it would be this area. But that's only if these storms hold together, and as of right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So this line continues along Interstate 44. We've got some strong storms moving into Sarcoxie, Mount Vernon, some heavy rain moving in, lots of lightning associated with this line that's coming through that area. And then we've still got some rainfall in Barton and Dade and Lawrence counties. Even in the areas where the warnings have cleared out, we're still dealing with some of that rainfall. So, over into Lebanon, we're still getting some pretty strong storms, but again, none of these are severe at this moment in time. Some lighter rain into Jefferson City. It did get a little bit heavy there in Jefferson City for a moment, a couple of brief thunderstorms, but overall the severe threat is pretty much over. Light to moderate rain falling along US 54 across Lake of the Ozarks towards Osage Beach, and then down through Lebanon as we mentioned, and then even through Rolla. So again, still some activity across the area that we're watching for us. We're now going to move into our next brief intermission. All right, and we are back here. You're listening to GWP Live Severe Weather Coverage. It's Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, and we're still tracking some of the ongoing storms that are happening across the region here. We've got severe thunderstorm warning that does remain in effect across the Springfield area. So let's go ahead and get the latest here on this warning here. And There we go. Fix the audio issue that we just had. So, Polk and Greene counties under this severe thunderstorm warning until 11 p.m. At 10:25 p.m., severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Pleasant Hope to near Willard to near Ash Grove, moving east at 50 miles per hour. Again, damage to roof sidings and trees. So, radar indicated threat across this area. We'll go ahead and we'll move into velocities, see where we're at. And yes, it gets a little bit complicated. Again, anytime that we're close to a radar site, that's when things will get very messy on the radar. So a little bit difficult at this point in time for us to see exactly what's happening. But again, either way, we're still looking at that wind threat across along Interstate 44, particularly for this warned area in Springfield, where we could be looking at 60-mile-per-hour winds. Still some pretty strong storms moving through Mount Vernon at this point in time. So we'll have to see if these get upgraded to warnings. At this point in time, it doesn't seem like there's really any reason for that to happen. But really from Mount Vernon to around Sarcoxy and just points to the south of there. Also, thunderstorms back building once again across northeastern Oklahoma, getting into Baxter Springs across Kansas, Galena, and over to Joplin. So rainfall has picked up just a little bit as some stronger storms are starting to move into that area. Again, we are under newly issued flash flood warnings across the Joplin area, so any additional rainfall that we get from these thunderstorms that have been back building in Oklahoma, that could be troublesome across this region. So that's something we're going to be watching for, is just to see exactly how far these thunderstorms go. Are they going to lift a little bit further to the north and affect some of the areas that have already been impacted by heavy rainfall, or are they finally going to slide further to the south of the interstate, and then that means that the areas that have already seen really too much rainfall this evening would continue to see more rainfall if that were not to happen. Also, we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning issued in northeastern Oklahoma. This goes for Osage and Washington counties in Oklahoma until 11:30. At 10:41 p.m., a severe thunderstorm was located near Kisa, moving east 30 miles per hour, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and quarter-size hail. This is a radar indicated threat, so that's what we're looking at out of this storm. Let's switch over to that storm, see what we're looking at here in the Bartlesville area. And yeah, so again, some strong winds kind of coming in here, right in there, maybe even in here a little bit as well, maybe a little bit of rotation. Nothing, doesn't look tornadic, still something that we will definitely pay close attention to in the coming, next 20, 30 minutes of that warning. So newly issued warning in northeastern Oklahoma with some of those new storms that have fired up here across Oklahoma. That one continuing until 11:30. So 11:30 is when that one expires. Our warning in Springfield will expire at 11 o'clock. And the overall tornado watch across this region, highlighted in yellow, that continues until midnight tonight. But again, if these storms move through a little bit sooner, which they likely will, then this watch will probably not make it until midnight. And then we've still got two tornado warnings across Arkansas here, one to the northwest of Russellville till 11, and then one to the southwest of Russellville, that one also expiring at 11. And then there's that bigger severe thunderstorm warning across that larger area that continues until 11:15 across central Arkansas. These storms in St. Louis, those have now fizzled out. There is still a tornado watch until midnight for this area, just in case those storms were to re-strengthen. At this point in time, I highly doubt it. I highly doubt those storms would re-strengthen. So we do have, yeah, we do have one severe thunderstorm warning right here. This one expired, this one till 11:15. And there is a tornado possible tag on that storm. So southwest of Peoria, Illinois, make sure that you watch that storm closely because could be a tornado with that one. And then now all of our storms in this area have now moved into Lake Michigan. So Chicago, you are now in the clear, but we've still got some ongoing flooding across southern Wisconsin. That is where we are currently at. So again, still tracking this severe thunderstorm warning across the Springfield area for 60-mile-per-hour winds. Radar indicated threat, so nothing has been confirmed at surface level. Lebanon getting some pretty strong storms along Interstate 44. Things are starting to weaken on this far eastern end of the line. So just to the west of Raleigh, we did have some strong storms out across this area. That has now weakened. And then still getting some decent rainfall from Camdenton to Lake of the Ozarks. But again, all of this is non-severe. We don't have to worry about any of this. South of Jefferson City, none of this we have to be concerned about. And then things are starting to dry out across Hermitage and Wheatland and Wabalo. Still a little bit of rainfall across that area, but it is starting to get a little bit less and less. Still some rain in Jefferson City. Columbia has been dry for quite some time, but we are getting a few showers that just started recently making their way back into the region. So again, I've still been watching this storm here in Miami over to Joplin. I thought this might re-strengthen and then try to move into southwest Missouri. But if that doesn't happen, then we will likely be in the clear for our viewing area. As we mentioned, the rest of like Arkansas, severe weather threat's going to continue for a couple more hours. But in Missouri, that threat is going to be ending very soon here. All right. We don't have any new updates on current stuff that's happening, so let's go back to a national perspective and we'll look at some other things going on across the country. Well, of course, we've got the flooding across the Northeast. We've covered that a little bit. We've actually got some dense fog advisories across western Florida, southern Mississippi, and Alabama. So that's something we're going to be watching for. Red flag concerns. So there is a dry line. That is what's been initiating a lot of our storms. We've got a cold front and a dry line. Those are the two instigators, if you want to call them, for our severe weather. On the western side of the dry line, or dew points are a lot lower, so our moisture content is a lot lower as well, and that creates very dry conditions. You might notice earlier today we had a lot of wind during the afternoon. It's also windy across these areas, but they don't have the moisture that we do. The moisture that we have is what's been creating the severe storm threat. There's no moisture, but there's a lot of wind and hot temperatures, and that's what's made our fire conditions pretty bad today across the Central Plains. So that's why we've got all these red flag warnings. And then winter weather alerts in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho. So that's ongoing at this time. Also in the Pacific Northwest, we've had a decent amount of snowfall across those areas as well. So lots of other weather happening here across the country. It's not just what we're dealing with here into the state of Missouri. And then looking at the SPC's severe weather outlook for today. So again, we're still under that slight risk here across the state of Missouri, but that risk will be backing off after midnight for our local area. Now we are still watching very closely that severe weather potential on Friday. The majority of the viewing area is under an enhanced risk. That's a 3 out of 5 on the SPC's scale. So the risk is looking a little bit higher and higher for that. Again, tomorrow it's going to be to our east. But then Friday, again, we have to watch this very closely because pretty much the entire viewing area is under an enhanced risk for severe weather on I just thought we had a new alert. We actually didn't on Friday. So Friday is definitely a day to pay attention to. Late afternoon and evening and into the overnight hours, thunderstorms are going to be developing. I think we will have our highest risk for tornadoes on Friday. I think it will be higher than today's risk. So please be very prepared for Friday. I understand there's a lot of things that happen on Friday nights and everything, and we're not saying to cancel that. But what we are saying, what the message here at GWP is to be prepared in the event that severe weather strikes during whatever plans that you have during the evening. We're not telling people to cancel. If you canceled your plans anytime there was a risk for severe weather, you probably wouldn't make it anywhere. But again, you have to be weather aware as you go throughout those evening plans. And so that's what we're telling you here. Again, it's a higher risk than what we've had all week and really so far this year. So that is something that we really want to watch out for. Because we're still a few days out, there still is a lot of uncertainty within this forecast. So tomorrow we should have some more information. And then, of course, by Friday, we'll have even more information. So we'll continue to keep you updated on Friday's severe weather potential. But as of right now, it looks like it could be a very active day for us as we go into Friday. And so you'll want to make sure to be ready for that. Again, flooding is also going to be a big concern. Here is your flood outlook from the Weather Prediction Center as we go into Friday. So we're looking at Kansas City, Columbia, going down to Nevada and into Lamar under that slight risk. So that's a 2 out of 4 on that flood risk scale from the Weather Prediction Center. All right, let's get an update on power outages. Where are we looking at? 94,000 customers without power. We're currently at 2,900 customers in the state of Missouri. That's definitely a good place for us to be at this point in time. Not too bad on the power outages. So that is good. Lots of good news coming into us here as we're closing in on 11 p.m. All right, we will now move into another brief intermission. We will return at the top of the hour. You're listening to GWP Live Severe Weather Coverage. It's Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, and it is now 11 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and we are tracking the ongoing storms across the state of Missouri, just kind of updating you on where we are as far as the severe weather. And we have some really good news for you. Are officially, for the first time in over 7 hours, we officially do not have any severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings across the viewing area. This severe thunderstorm warning, which is shown on the map, has now expired. And so that means that we no longer have any areas that have any severe thunderstorm warnings in the viewing area. Also, those two tornado warnings that we had in Arkansas, those have also expired as well, and now we just have that one severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect across central Arkansas. So that is where we're at. So the severe weather threat is definitely going down quite a bit. So severe thunderstorm warning in the Springfield area has now expired. I do still want to point out, still getting some very heavy rainfall in Joplin and Carthage, so I am concerned that this is going to add to our flash flooding threat there in Joplin and Carthage, but none of these storms are severe. This line has now moved to the south of Interstate 44, but we're still getting some heavy rain there in Lebanon and points to the south. And then everywhere else at this point in time across the viewing area, we are clear. All right. Well, again, because that severe thunderstorm warning expired in the Springfield area, we don't have any warnings at this time. So I think for that reason, we are going to end the live stream. We will keep you updated if anything else does happen, but I really doubt that it will. So this will likely be the end of our live stream for this evening. Have a great evening, stay safe, and we'll see you here next time.